Good morning. Topic for today's journal is Beyond Fever, Cough and Dyspnea, the Neurology of COVID 19. This is a review article taken from JAPI, which is published in September 2020, and my moderator is Dr. Karthik Rao. The pandemic due to COVID has rapidly engulfed the entire world and continues to evolve at an aggressive pace. Neurological manifestations in COVID ranges from mild olfactory and gustatory perception abnormalities to necrotizing encephalopathy and stroke. It has also been postulated that COVID may affect the medullary respiratory centers in the brainstem, thereby causing the neurogenic acute respiratory failure. Preliminary data suggest a role of immune hyperinflammation and hyperthrombosis mediating the neurological features. Immune dysregulation also may contribute to the para and post infectious complications and potentially neurodegenerative conditions. This review article is to summarize the different pathophysiological mechanisms behind the neurological manifestations of COVID and guidance for their management. Coming to the introduction, as of 28 April 2020, 28,83,603 confirmed cases and 1,98,842 deaths has been reported worldwide. Of that, India had 21,632 active cases and 934 deaths. Global mortality is 3.4%, which is much higher than the 0.1% mortality which was reported with the seasonal influenza in US. The neurological features of COVID include the anosmia, ageusia, altered sensorium, dizziness, encephalitis, stroke, epilepsy, as well as peripheral involvement such as Guillain-Barré syndrome, and new manifestations are continually being recognized. Structure of COVID. This belongs to the coronavirus family. This is a positive sense enveloped single-stranded RNA virus with 29,903 base pairs. The viral envelope consists of a lipid bilayer which has four proteins, that is spike protein, membrane protein, envelope protein and nucleocapsid. It has mutation at a rate of 1 by 1000 per site per year. The current pandemic is due to the mutation in the virus spike protein. Virus host entry mechanism. Both SARS and COVID-19 use the same receptor for the entry, that is the human angiotensin converting enzyme 2 receptor. This spike protein in the COVID recognizes the receptor and serves as a key role for entry into the cell. Although both SARS and COVID uses the same receptor for the entry, the binding mechanisms are 10 to 20 times stronger in COVID than the SARS virus. Also, this human angiotensin converting enzyme 2 receptor has two hotspots, that is 31 and 353, which enhances the binding affinity of the COVID relative to the SARS. It is also believed that cleavage of the viral spike protein is necessary prerequisite for complete interaction with the angiotensin converting enzyme 2 receptor. This cleavage is conducted by the surface protease called transmembrane serine protease 2. Certain lysosomal enzymes such as cathepsin L are also believed to play a significant role in the virus-cell interaction. In vitro studies also suggest a potential role of CD147 acting as a receptor. This angiotensin converting enzyme 2 is almost omnipresent in the human body, that is, they are present in the respiratory epithelial cell, nasal mucosa, heart, kidneys, GIT, urinary tract, reproductive organs as well as the brain. Moreover, this cathepsin L and CD147 also occur in the central nervous system. However, this transmembrane serine protease 2 has restricted presence in the globus pallidus, insula, brainstem, temporal and the occipital lobes. Although this COVID has not yet been directly demonstrated in the brain tissue, the SARS has been demonstrated by autopsy in the brain of patients with the fatal systemic diseases. Then the routes of dissemination into the central nervous system. First of all, angiotensin converting enzyme 2 expression is present in the brain, then COVID likely to traverse in the retrograde fashion from the peripheral nerves into the central nervous system. This virus also gain access to CNS through the transsynaptic transfer. Then enteric nervous system is also the portal of entry with retrograde mitigation of virus through the vagal and the sympathetic afferent. Then hematogenous spread. Then animal studies in MERS and SARS demonstrated brain infiltration after the intranasal administration, particularly involving the brainstem and thalamus. This suggests that olfactory route provide another access to the CNS. This is partly supported by the presence of hyposmia and anosmia in COVID patients. Animal studies have also documented high angiotensin converting enzyme 2 expression in the nucleus of solitary tract, which suggests CNS involvement as the cause of taste abnormality in the COVID patients. Then exosomal transport, already known for other viruses, could also serve as a route for entry into the central nervous system. Also, this COVID infection through the nasal route may be more severe than other route, as this may facilitate entry of virus into the CNS and brainstem, causing destruction of the medullary respiratory centers and resulting in the respiratory failure. This also stresses upon the use of mask as an important protective measure to prevent the serious outcomes. Then destruction of the medullary reticular activating system may contribute coma in these patients. Then cytokine storm. Infection with COVID leads to the immune activation with CD4 plus T cells being stimulated to secrete the granulocyte macrophage colony stimulating factor. This leads to the release of interleukin 6 from the macrophage and triggering the cytokine storm. This further causes the outpouring of the inflammatory mediators interleukin 2, interleukin 7, tumor necrosis factor alpha, which leads to severe manifestations. Concomitantly, anti-inflammatory cytokines such as interferon gamma also gets downregulated. Additionally, hyperinflammatory state leads to metabolic disorganization and may contribute to stroke, which are increasingly being reported in the COVID patients. Even after viral infection cleared from the body, acquired immune feedback that targets epitopes in the host system may lead to ongoing damage and protracted inflammation. Antibodies and T cell that are particular to coronavirus has demonstrated macrophage activation leading to eventual demyelination in the transgenic mice. COVID-19 also predisposes to a hyperthrombotic state. Both arterial and venous thrombosis are triggered as a result of hyperinflammation, hypoxia, and disseminated intravascular coagulation. Up to 31% of ICU patients with COVID-19 have documented to have thrombotic conditions, including the pulmonary embolism, deep vein thrombosis, arterial strokes, and cerebral venous thrombosis, etc. Many centers advocate the use of prophylactic anticoagulation in severely ill patients with COVID-19 based on these observations. Predisposing factors to the neurological diseases. One is advanced age, then pre-existing chronic diseases including the neurological conditions, then smoking. Advanced age is associated with the immune senescence. Then patients with neurological disease may experience the aggravation of their underlying condition. Then smokers are particularly predisposed to the COVID-19 disease. This is attributable to a functional interaction between the angiotensin converting enzyme 2 receptor and the nicotinic acetylcholine receptor. These two receptors coexist in several cells and functionally interact such that nicotinic stimulation of this receptor upregulates the angiotensin converting enzyme 2 expression. Hence, avoidance of smoking needs to be strongly advocated to avoid the neurological diseases. Then the neurological manifestations of COVID-19. Initial case series of patients from Wuhan reported non-specific neurological symptoms like confusion, headache, and dizziness. Subsequently, two studies have specifically investigated the neurological symptoms. Largest of this by Mao et al. Reported that one-fourth of the patients hospitalized with COVID have neurological manifestations. They documented the occurrence of stroke, seizures, olfactory and gustatory disturbances, etc. Another French study documented the prominence of corticospinal tract involvement, including the brisk deep tendon reflexes, Babinski sign, as well as the clonus. There has also been a case report of acute necrotizing hemorrhagic encephalopathy. Neurological features are classified as those affecting the central nervous system, peripheral nervous system, and the musculoskeletal system. Peripheral nervous system involvement in the form of acute neuropathies such as Guillain-Barré syndrome has been described. Muscle injury, including elevated creatine phosphokinase, are also being reported. These are all the summary of key studies that have reported the neurological manifestations of COVID-19. The largest study is conducted by Mao et al. In Wuhan, China. Uh, he concluded that 36.4% of the patients with COVID-19 have the neurological manifestations. This includes the CNS manifestations like headache, dizziness, impaired consciousness, stroke, ataxia, seizures, peripheral nervous system manifestations like taste, smell, vision impairment and pain, and also the musculoskeletal injury. Other studies have documented acute ischemic stroke, cerebral venous thrombosis, intracranial hemorrhage, and one case series in United States has reported acute hemorrhagic encephalopathy, and there are case reports of Guillain-Barré syndromes. Coming to the potential targets for therapy, the receptor binding domain of the spike protein must interact with the angiotensin converting enzyme 2 receptor to facilitate the virus entry to host cell, and this could be a potential therapeutic target against which antibodies or even subunit based vaccine could be designed. Then this transmembrane serine protease 2 could also be a potential therapeutic agent. Then suppression of hyperinflammatory state, which may also help the patients with COVID-19. Then the use of convalescent plasma for patients with the severe diseases could also help. Post-infectious neurological manifestations. The persistence of coronavirus in the CNS after acute infection may result in immune dysregulation, triggering the autoimmune conditions in the vulnerable patients. The presence of coronavirus RNA in CSF of the patients with demyelinating conditions such as multiple sclerosis and acute disseminated encephalomyelitis has been reported, as well as post-infectious encephalitis and GBS has also been reported with the MERS. Then regarding the long-term neurological sequelae, the presence of olfactory involvement suggests a striking similarity with the alpha-synucleinopathies such as Parkinson's disease, in which olfactory dysfunction is the premotor feature. Then cellular apoptosis of the medullary respiratory center and the reticular systems. Conclusion: as the pandemic rages, there is an urgent need to establish neuropathological links in COVID-19 patients via autopsies and pathological studies. Knowledge of virus structure and virus-host interaction mechanisms will aid in providing a framework for the therapeutic interventions. Neurological manifestations in COVID are undeniable, and they are all due to the hyperfunctioning immunological systems, then procoagulant state and direct virus-induced apoptosis. This combination that may require a multi-pronged approach for the therapeutic success. Thank you.